Hello guys, and welcome back to another Jonah Central tutorial. I am recording this in the moment. This isn't a voiceover one because I'm going to be doing a bit more of an in-depth tutorial that I don't feel like I can do justice by just doing voiceovers. Let's get right into it. So I'm assuming you'll start out in layout with a cube, but I've deleted the cube, added in a plane, and created a material. And so I created this rock material. As you can see, I put it in this frame. And so it's just a simple rock material, and below it I've created a water material. I plugged them both into a mix shader, and the mix shader goes into this material output. So if I change this mix shader to 1, you will see that it will turn into just a water material. Now, it's not perfect, it's not that great, but it's quick. So I'm going to show you how to create a node group to kind of have a bit more control, and instead of having to go in and change all these settings, you can just create some little controls on this one node, and you can use it for multiple times later, and it'll be super helpful. So let's get right into it. So select every node that involves things you want to control, starting with a noise texture all the way to this mix shader in my case. So I would select all of this and press Control G. And now you can see this here. Let me increase the scale of this. As you can see, I have created a node group, and background's green. Green represents group. And I've got my rock material, water material, and factor. Now if I press tab, as you can see, I've got this one node group and then my material output. Now if you press N, you can bring up your node properties. So select the group, press tab, you're back into the node group editor. So in this case, I would want to control, let's say, the factor of how much is water and how much is rock. I want to create puddles, let's say. So to create that property in your node group right here, if you drag this little fact node and put it into this empty looking node on the group input, that'll pop up back here. As you can see, I have now created a factor that you can now modify on this group node. And if I change it, you can see it starts affecting the object up there. Awesome. So if I go back into the edit mode, we have that new fact, and you'll see it's plugging into here, but I don't want to just call it fact. That can confuse some people, it can screw things up. While in the group node, if you go up here to node, you'll have inputs and outputs. For inputs, select the fact and change the name to something like puddle factor. And now if I go out of this group node, you got a puddle factor. Awesome, and you could plug a noise map into here to get more detailed puddle locations. That's nice. Now you got a minimum and maximum. Since this is a factor, 0 and 1 is good. You can change the default value if you want, but I'm just going to keep it at 0 so it's completely dry to start. Now, let's say you want to affect a few more things, like maybe you want to change the rock texture and you want to make it so it's a lot bigger or a lot more black and white. Or even better, you'd want to change the distortion to make it look more like molten rocks. So what you would do is you would take that distortion and put it once again into the empty little node socket right here on group input, and boom, now you got another one called distortion. I'm just going to call this one rock distortion, and the default value will be 0, but if you don't want people to distort things like crazy, if you want to give them a limit, you can change it from 0 to 10. Now, if I try and change rock distortion, it cannot go beyond 10. Even 10's a lot. I think I might want to limit them to probably 5. Even that's pushing it, but as you can see, now you can control that. Now, molten rocks are usually a bit darker because Obsidian and Minecraft. If you add in this bright and contrast node, you can take this brightness, put it into the empty node socket, And now you got another little input here called bright. You'd want to change that and change it to rock brightness. Now if I adjust this, you can see I am affecting the rock brightness. Awesome. Now let's say I wanted to affect the color of the water. So I'm going to change the puddle factor all the way up to 1 so you can just see the water. The water is a bit dark and you might want that, but let's say you want to change it to like a really light blue kind of tropical water. Well, what you do is you take this base color right here, you put the node into the empty node on the group input, and now you got one called base color. Awesome. So you change the name from base color to watercolor. And now if you go out, press tab, and now you can see you got another node variable called watercolor, which you can now change to whatever you want. Let's say it's a rainy day and you want to change the roughness of your rock texture. Let me turn the puddle factor back to 0, because you can see it's reflective, but it could be like super reflective or super not reflective. It can be different of weather and whatever might affect it. So to fix that, grab the node for roughness, put it into the empty node on group input, and there you go. Roughness. Now you can change this to rock roughness. Once again, it's a factor, so 0 and 1 is good. You can change the default value to whatever you want. I think 0.5 is good. And now, as you can see, I have created my own node group. And you can affect it to make it whether you want it to be water, rock, or have puddles. I'm kind of happy with how my node group is looking. So what you can do is you can make sure you still have the node editor open, whatever this is called. You can change the name from group to, let's say, rock and water. That's not going to be what shows up. But the label will be what's up here. So you could do it rock and water node. And now you can see you've got your very own rock and water node. Now it's looking great. So if you go into edit mode, here's your group, and it's all contained in the tiny little node. So now you can see I can affect the rock distortion from 5 to 0. I can change the rock brightness an infinite amount, probably, or from 100 to -100. I could fix that, but I'm okay. I can change the rock roughness to whatever I want. I can change the how much water versus rock it is, and I can change the color of the water as well. So now if I added in a noise texture, let's say, and I plugged this FAC into the puddle factor, as you can see it's going to look a bit rocky and watery at the same time. And you might not see it right now, but let's say I grabbed a color ramp and I kind of tightened the values a bit. As you can see, I'm now affecting the puddles on the rock texture. You've got the rock and you've got the puddles. Now, of course, you can play with the nodes around and probably make it a bit better and make it actually look like puddles instead of just splattering. Like maybe the water goes into the ground a bit and that's why it forms puddles. But then you might turn the rock brightness down a bit because it's raining. You turn the rock roughness down a bit because it's raining. Whatever, it dries up, rock roughness goes back up, rock brightness goes back up, and the puddle factor is gone. Oh, shoot. And that is how to create a node group. Oh, and one more thing, if you click the color checkbox up here, you can change the color of the node. I don't really do this. I don't even use frames. I just thought it was really cool because it would help out with my tutorials. But that is how to create and use a node group. Oh, and if you were curious, yes, you can grab image textures and plug them into these colors. As you can see, the water is now the color of the image texture. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this taught you something, and I hope this really helps out, because you can use this in multiple projects. But, have a good day, and I'll see you guys later.